Cake Face Fam, so today is a funny one. I actually wasn't going to post this tutorial that I recorded because things were not going my way this day at all. Partway through, really loud construction started happening outside, so I decided to make it a voiceover halfway through, and even though I liked the way the eye look went, things were not going my way with the face makeup. I didn't even get to the point where I put on lipstick, so I stopped recording and I wasn't going to post this, but you guys saw this look in my Makeup Geek highlighters video and told me you wanted to see a tutorial, and I had this footage, so I figured I'd show you guys how I mess up and tend to, not always do things perfectly. So this is an opportunity to peek inside my behind the scenes and how oftentimes I actually don't like how things turn out and don't post it. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy this one. The eye look does turn out pretty nice, although I hate how the mascara looked at the end. And yeah, there's no lip option because I didn't get that far. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking Creme Brulee, which is one of Makeup Geek's most popular shades, and I'm just creating a big blown out smoky look. I started in the crease and I'm just blending away. I'm going to take this beautiful burgundy shade and put this all over the lid and fade it into the Creme Brulee shade. I'm using a fluffy brush. You can use a flat brush, but I'm using a fluffy brush because I wanted to do sort of a light wash of color that blends in really beautifully to that warm brown shade we already laid down. And I'm gonna actually do this with another shade as well. With each shade I get a little bit more precise and it creates a really beautiful faded ombre type look. My goal is that you can't see where one color stops and the other color starts. It kind of just fades. Americano, which is a really beautiful deep brown. So I'm taking this deep brown shade and I'm doing the same thing. I'm sweeping this over the lid, but I'm being a little bit more precise, a little bit more contained, and I'm going to fade this into Bitten, that beautiful burgundy shade, and just sweeping this all over, creating a nice base for other shades to go on over this. These are my go-to Makeup Geek eyeshadows. I use these colors all the time. It has its own special palette because they're some of my favorites. Although I rearranged that recently and added more shades, put it in a larger Z palette. Anyway, curtain call. So I built up that color. Now I'm going in with a foiled shadow, which is my favorite formulation from the Makeup Geek line, although I love them all. And I'm patting this one on with my finger. I find that the oil content lends itself to being its most glamorous when you use your finger and just pat it on. You can also use a flat brush, but I'm just patting this on mostly to the center of the lid. I want to pat it on and create intensity and then sort of fade it into the other shades. It looks beautiful over the deep colors that we already laid down. And now I'm going back into Creme Brulee and I'm gonna mirror what I did on the upper part of the lid on the lower lash line. So I'm gonna use the same shadows and just build up that color, going in the same order, doing the same thing, being a little bit more precise every time I lay down a new shade. And I'm using a little pencil brush. I think this one is from Morphe. And creating a little bit of fallout, just building up the intensity, creating a big blown out, smoky, warm look. I'm focusing this deepest shade on the outer third of the eye. And then I'm going to take this foiled shade again and use my brush and just mostly focus it on the center, inner 2/3 of the eye, the lower lash line. Don't get the shadow in your eye like I do, because that's not healthy. And then I'm taking Black Light, which is one of my all-time favorite eyeshadows ever, and it's a beautiful duochrome from Makeup Geek, and I'm using that pencil brush and I'm focusing this on the inner corner of the eye to brighten. It looks beautiful and changes with different bases. So it looks gorgeous, and it's pulling those pinky purpley tones over these red tones. And then I'm patting this over the very center of the lid to create sort of a spotlight effect. And then I'm putting this on the very center of the lower lash line. I threw on some mascara. Did not really like how that turned out, but that's a whole nother thing. Half-hearted. And this is where my tutorial starts to go downhill, like hardcore. I went in with a Makeup Geek contour shade, which normally turns out pretty well, but I just threw it on and it was way too much and very hard to blend out. I definitely recommend with face products using a light hand, which I normally do, but this day just, whew, it was a rough one. It was a rough one. So I go back and forth and try and blend for a while. I cut a lot of that out because I was just sitting there blending. And then I went in with my Real Technique sponge, hoping that worked. And it helped, but it was still very patchy. At this point, I still thought my tutorial was salvageable, but things just kept getting worse and worse. Then I go in with some blush. I forget what this one is called, but it's another Makeup Geek blush. And I put way too much and it became patchy. This was just another thing that just didn't go too well. And then what pushed me over the edge was the Makeup Geek highlighter that I tried out. And yeah, first I sprayed my face with some MAC Fix Plus, trying to make everything look a little bit more put together. And just because that's what I do every day, it brings down powderiness. And then I go in with the highlighter. So the main problem is that I just used too much of all of these products, and the highlighters are actually quite beautiful. If you're interested in them, definitely check out my review. But these guys, it was just a hot mess. So I give you a close-up of the eye look, the lovely highlighter, and how much texture is going on, and how unblended and heavy-handed everything is, how terrible my mascara looks. Yeah, just this wasn't my thing. I never ended up putting on lipstick. So the same day I decided to go ahead and wash that off and just have fun with makeup. So I sit there playing with some stuff. I used some jumbo eye pencils from Maybelline, and I just started drawing on my face and just said, what the heck? So I decided to do a fun look, and I started building up with the same eyeshadows that was in the first tutorial. I just start going in there with a large brush and playing around, and I ended up with some cool looking stuff. I used the same eyeshadows except for a different foiled eyeshadow, which when I try and go in with that foiled eyeshadow, I go in with a brush, and you can kind of see how it wasn't really very pigmented and wasn't showing up. So then I go in with one of my fingers, and it really created a much nicer, more pigmented look. And after I go in and draw on my nose, I drew some more lines all over my face and took some fun photos and called it a day. Sometimes when I'm having a rough makeup day and things just aren't turning out, I go back to my roots of painting and I just kind of go at it and just have fun, because that's kind of what I like. So I hope that you enjoyed, and this was a fun video to watch. It's kind of a peek into my method and what I do when things aren't going my way. I kind of turn it into something crazy. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Join my Cake Face family. Thumbs up this video if you did enjoy it, and comment in the comment section down below so I can get to know you a little bit better. Let me know what you do when things aren't working out in your favor with makeup. Alright, love you lots. Catch you in my next one. Bye.